I think it might. Well, the thing about it is, it may not be as powerful of a transformative experience, or it may not be the same, but it's maybe just a different one. I think like technology in general, especially with how rapidly it's progressing, I think is just inevitably going to do that to us. Like the way I see it now, like I think I might have used this analogy already, but like when I was in like I think I was in first grade. I was in an after-school program where we were in a third grade classroom, and there was a strip of like cursive writing with like the regular letters underneath it, and I taught myself how to write cursive in like first or second grade, just for fun. I was just like, wow, those letters look so cool. Like, but now it's becoming more and more the standard to do away with cursive and replace it with typing, just because typing's a more relevant form of communication in our day and age. But the way I see it, eventually that's going to be like programming and coding. I feel like kids out of like elementary school are going to be doing like rudimentary fucking HTML, and I think like the nature of our world that becomes of that, where everybody in like the first world is computer literate, everybody has more than what we consider a basic understanding of it. I think it's just going to change the whole like zeitgeist of the era.
I mean, what would be the point though of teaching kids to
progress as a species?
But like,
to live forever.
Programming is already one of the most
sought after.
It's not even just that it's sought after.
It totally is.
But it is. But like, that's what a lot of people are already doing, and it's going to get to the point where that job market it's over flooded.
It's gonna cap,
and then everything that you get is already pre-programmed.
It will
be teaching all these kids to do that at the most will just give them the opportunity to make their own Flash game or like some shitty little flashlight app. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there are people who will take that and run with it, and they'll make the next Angry Birds.
Right. Or whatever that might be.
Or, they'll make the next Apple.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like teaching kids that will be just as useless as teaching kids cursive.
Well, see, the thing...
my daily life does not call for programming.
Well, right. Well, your daily life might not, because we don't live in that era yet. But just think, at a certain point in time, people started using written language. Like that was the thing that was never around for a while. And look, written language in like agriculture, for instance, people didn't know how to farm for a while. But then once they did, it was absolutely imperative that they taught their children how to farm. Like the future of their species depended on their ability to farm and their ability to record information, and keep it and pass it down to their next generation. So I think all that's happening is the ways in which we record and distribute information are becoming faster and easier. And maybe it might not be programming. Like by that time, it might even be simpler than that. But just in the same way that our lives have been made easier by written language, agriculture, machines like cars, computers, like we kind of grew up in a world that is the collective result of everything that came before it. And it's just as important for us to teach, because like think of how much further, like I don't have a car right now. It was a lot easier for me to get everything in my life done when I had a car. So I just think that if you don't give the youth the tools of the future, then they become obsolete.
I agree, but if we're going to teach kids anything, we should teach them the things that they're going to have to know no matter what. Yeah. The things that I wish I was taught when I was in school, like how to do fucking taxes.
Yeah, right. That's a good one.
Like things like that. Or like
savings, real estate,
exactly,
home owning,
all of it.
Yeah,
all of it. The value of hard work.
Yeah,
an actual skill, not how to do fucking trigonometry.
Yeah.
Or like,
I mean, it's cool. My parents were good with the work thing, but
your parents though, not
right.
school.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important that parents take a more active role too. But the thing about me was like, and what made it, actually, this is a good tie-in. Back to the whole, your whole self-image and self-worth wrapped up in your creative work. When I was really young, and even back then, art and stuff was my life passion. Like I started doing it when I was like 2, and I stuck with it, and it was like the love of my life. But in a way, and I don't mean to like throw my parents under the bus. I mean, nobody has a perfect family, but in a way, like both my parents were super hardworking people, and they placed a lot of value on hard work for like a useful purpose. And I think that they didn't necessarily know how to value something like art. So whenever I would show my parents, my mom was usually pretty cool about it. She'd be like, "Go show your dad." But after a while, I was just like, as like a 7-year-old, I was kind of like, I don't want to. He won't like it, because he would always kind of like, not yell at me for it, but it was always like some kind of lesson about how I should like do better, and that how whatever I did isn't like good enough because of whatever reason. It'll be more useful in the world, and like, so I just kind of got used to I didn't ever really want to show him. And then after a while, I didn't really want to show anyone. I just wanted it to be mine, because every time I put that piece of myself out into the world, everybody would sort of like corrupt it, misconstrue it, and then throw it back at me. So I just kind of got sick of it. But I imagine the lengths I could have gone to if I wasn't carrying around the burden that I took to heart over how I felt about myself in relation to the creative work I did. I'm just now at 27 becoming comfortable with it again, and it took me a long time and a pretty far departure from it to realize what I wanted. And it sucks. I think if we could eliminate that sort of thing altogether, especially for like the really, really young people who haven't been like affected by that yet, I think that they could cover greater grounds than the average child that has that's raised in the proper environment for them, whatever that might be. I'm not saying I have the answers. I don't blame anybody who doesn't, but I think they can I think like the people in our lifetime, might bring us ahead, 10, 20 years. I think people, if you're just raised without certain like challenges, it makes life so much easier,
Yeah.
to do more too.
I'm sort of the opposite in a way. I was also raised on like valuing hard work.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised to,
it's a good parent.
You either do everything 100% or not at all.
Right. Which is a good principle, yeah.
Yeah, don't do anything half-assed. But when it came to art, my mom was really into art when she was younger, and even though my dad wasn't around until I was like 8, he was also, like, they met, they had a lot of art classes together in school.
Really? She doesn't strike me as the type of person.
Yeah, she doesn't. She hasn't in a long time.
My mom is too, and she's good at it, which is what, like, she thinks she's terrible, but like every couple of years she'll just do a little painting or something, and it'll be just like of a tree or a bird or something, but it's like it'll be good for what it is.
Yeah. But so me doing art when I was young, that was always, I always had positive reinforcement. That was never, my mom never said, "Hey, like, this isn't going to get you anywhere, don't do this."
My parents did all the time.
That's what I'm saying. I was kind of opposite, but so like I was always encouraged to awesome. Like make art and stuff, and they would always tell me like, this is good, like keep going, like,
yeah, your stuff is good.
Continue and like get better, and I did, and I have.
Yeah, you did.
But it's like I'm at the point, and I have been for like a while now, where like I don't even want to show my stuff to anybody, not because I don't think it's good or because I don't think that they'll like it, but because someone telling me that I did a good job and that it looks good I don't really get anything from that. It doesn't really make me feel any better. You know what I mean?
Fuck them, right?
No, it's not like, it's not like, oh, I did a good job. Well, fuck you. You did a good job.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. It's like, I know that I'm doing my best. So, and I know that.
Right.
And I'm not self-conscious about that. So I don't...
That's huge, yeah.
I don't need that positive reinforcement. And it's like... Even if somebody does like it and they think it's the best thing in the world,
it's cool.
They're gonna look at it for a couple minutes and then they're gonna be like, "That's cool," and then they're just gonna go back to their life, and then it's literally just gonna sit there and gain dust. And I don't know. It's just when I was little, it made me feel good because I felt like I was getting better.
Yeah.
And now it's like I get that from myself. You know what I mean? Because I can look at this and compare it to the thing that I made 10 projects ago and say, you know, this is better. I'm doing better. But no one really cares.
They don't need to.
You know what I mean?
Who gives a fuck? It's by you, for you, really, ultimately.
Exactly.
Yeah. If it doesn't... I think as a child especially, I feel like every person's obviously an individual too, so it's not like you can lump every child into a single category, but I think as a child it's kind of harder to, like, especially when you're really, really young, like a toddler, it's sort of like all you really know is your family and maybe like your preschool. And it's obviously you care the most about what your family thinks because it's, especially in your early life, it's like your parents are everything. They're all you know. And you're so used to sort of getting your, like, your, not opinions, but like sort of getting, you trust them. Like, but before you learn that humans are imperfect, if your parent tells you something, you're like, you go with it because you trust, you love them, you trust them, and you know what they say is true. Like I said, until you learn that, you know, that the truth of the world, that people aren't perfect.
Santa doesn't exist.
Yeah, right. But
if there's any kids listening, that was a lie.
Oh, that's true. But I don't blame any parent who fails in that regard, because it's hard to understand, especially if you're not that crazy type of person that I am, or that you probably are, that like is just that creative type from birth. I feel like we all are creative in our own way, but some people are just different. But as you become an adult too, I feel like you become sort of separated from that part of yourself, because you've, like, out of necessity, as an adult, you have to sort of harden your you know, your foundation to you know, protect it from you know, obliteration. And it's especially like as adults, and especially as an adult with a child, your whole entire focus has to be on preservation. It really can't be on anything else. Like, I'm only just now getting around to being able to take care of myself, you know, and I'm a few years away from being 30. Like, imagine, I mean, I've said it before, but I couldn't even imagine what my life would be like if I had a kid on top of this. I don't even think I could do it. So I definitely don't blame any parent who can't, whatever, be whatever emotional type of support their child needs. But I think in the early years, for a certain type of, like, super sensitive person, which I was at the time, it can be difficult. But the cool thing about that is that you sort of grow up and you have to learn how to live life without that. Like, literally, in order to get by, you have to learn that strength. At least for me, it took long, but you have to learn how to sort of fuel that fire from the inside, and how to to let go of everything else and understand that what you're doing is for you. It matters to you. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. And it really doesn't even matter how good it is, honestly. As long as it's what you want to do, as long as it's authentically you, I think the outcome matters little. And I think that's another thing that it's hard to get comfortable with as an adult, because growing up and as we're in school and as we're in a job, our whole existence is sort of there and to reinforce the idea that that your value as a human being depends on your ability to perform at a certain level. And that's sort of true in everything. And it is the truth. In a job, if you don't do well, you're not going to do well. In school, if you don't do well, you're not going to get very far. Like, it just, I mean, for the most, obviously there's outliers. You know, you hear some fucking SoundCloud rapper, oh, I dropped out of school at, 9 years old and got a face tattoo. Like, that's cool too. If you want to do that, and go ahead. I'll probably listen to your music. Send it to me on I don't know. I delete it on my social media, but I'll get some, and when I do, I'll let you know what it is, and so I can check out your music.